You're watching our special broadcast, India-Mauritius Strengthening Ties. Rolling coverage from St. Louis in Mauritius continues on your channel, DD India. And let's tell our viewers who have just joined us, an unprecedented welcome for Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi in Mauritius was on display a while back upon his arrival. Prime Minister Modi landed in Mauritius earlier today to a very, very grand and warm reception at around 6 a.m. local time there in Mauritius. And at this very early hour there, at the crack of the dawn almost, Prime Minister was received by the top personalities of the Mauritius, led by the Prime Minister of Mauritius himself, Naveen Ramgoolam. He welcomed Prime Minister Modi personally, presented him a garland, and then he was also reportedly joined by the Deputy Prime Minister, Chief Justice of Mauritius, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Leader of the Opposition there, the Foreign Minister of Mauritius, the Cabinet Secretary of Mauritius, the Chairperson of Grand Port District Council, and many others. And reportedly there were around 200 dignitaries present at the Sivo Sagur International Airport at St. Louis to welcome Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, in the early morning hours there, which also included the member parliaments, the MLAs, the diplomatic corps, and other leaders as well. As we stay with these visuals of the welcome accorded to Prime Minister Modi early today in Mauritius, where Prime Minister, you can see, earlier today also inspected the Guard of Honour. Ambassador Gurjeet Singh joins us on this broadcast, former Indian senior diplomat, and also let me welcome Samir Bhattacharya, Associate Fellow from ORF. Ambassador Gurjeet, we are staying with these visuals, but isn't this unprecedented and huge? You have the entire top leadership coming personally to welcome Prime Minister Modi, including the opposition cadres as well.
Indeed, I think this is a whole of government approach.
Absolutely.
And welcome from Mauritius to Prime Minister.
I mean, reportedly there were around 200 dignitaries to welcome Prime Minister Modi.
And at 6 a.m. in the morning.
A rare gesture, what does it signify? What's the message?
The message is that there was a rather unexpected change of government in November in Mauritius. So we need to have a good relationship with this government as early as possible. And their National Day in March was a good occasion, and they were gracious enough to invite the Prime Minister. And we have accepted that invitation so that we can go and meet the new government very quickly. And the message is that Mauritius is our partner in the Indian Ocean, and we have a common approach to whichever of the two parties and coalitions rules in Port Louis.
Samir Bhattacharya, your take? Rare gesture?
The most important message this visit carries is the strategic continuity. So last year in October, a lot of things happened. In last year, October, Mauritius got the sovereignty of Chagos Island. But in November, the new government came with a historic mandate. They got 60 out of 62 seats. So there were, when the government changed in Maldives, the government changed in Sri Lanka, there were some doubts that now the government change in Mauritius. What is going to happen to India-Mauritius relation? Is Mauritius going to, the new government is going to be friendly? As early as their National Day, it's been only 4 months the new government is in place. And by inviting
and you have
Prime
the
Minister
almost entire new government, the top line leadership welcoming the Prime Minister. I think that's the big signal coming from the Mauritius that they need India, they want India, and they value India under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
It is the strategic continuity that the government may have changed, but nothing changed within India-Mauritius relations as far as the relationship concerned. This is the main message that this visit or that this invite carries.
Ambassador Gurjeet, besides the strategic continuity, we also see the continuity in the robust engagements, whether it's our top leadership gracing their National Day celebrations, including in the last edition we saw Honorable President and Prime Minister has been the chief guest there in 2015, and their top leadership participating in Prime Minister Modi's swearing-in ceremonies earlier in 2014, 2019 and of course 2024.
So I think during Prime Minister Modi's time, the embrace of Mauritius has been more like a neighbor than as an African country. And I think that is what leads to the invitation to them to come to Prime Minister's inaugurations and the frequency with which Indian dignitaries are participating in the National Day of Mauritius. I think Mauritius has always been also been active in the Voice of Global South summits. I think they were invited to the G20.
Yes, as a special invitee.
Special. So we have shown lot of special gestures towards Mauritius. Now, all the countries in the Indian Ocean, particularly the island countries, Samir has mentioned Maldives and Sri Lanka, but there is Comoros, there is Maldives, there is Seychelles. You know, all these are currently contention with China because China offers a large scope for expansion of their relationship. We want the leaders of these countries to remain India first and not China first.
Yes.
So that I think is the important aspect of why India goes there quickly and embraces them warmly.
That was my next question actually, besides the bonhomie and the cultural connectivity and the personal rapport that the two leaders share. The timings of this visit are very important, and these are the special pictures of Prime Minister Modi's arrival earlier today on your screens, and sharing these pictures on the social media platform X. Prime Minister Modi of India wrote, and I quote, "As we stay with these visuals, which speak louder than words as far as the kind of bonhomie that the two leaders shared, landed in Mauritius. I'm grateful to my friend, Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, for the special gesture of welcoming me at the airport. The visit is a wonderful opportunity to engage with a valued friend and explore new avenues for collaboration in various sectors. Today, I will be meeting President Dharam Gokul, Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, and also addressing a community program in the evening," unquote. So, Ambassador Singh, continue with your take on the timings. And before that, what do you make of the Prime Minister's tweet where he's addressed him as a friend, quote unquote, and also acknowledging the special gesture, quote unquote, where you have the all
with us. It is when he left office and the Jagannath government came back for the last 7-8 years that the India-Mauritius relations were back to India first. Now, in between, you remember there was COVID. And Naveen Ramgoolam was seriously sick and he was flown to India for treatment, which probably saved his life. So I think his attitude to India has perhaps become more existentialist. And I think this is visible in the warmth with which you see in these pictures that he is hugging Prime Minister Modi. So I think that is a qualitative change. And as Samir has pointed out, India has never relented on collaborating with Mauritius. And I think we will remain the country of first responder to them.
Yes, we have been.
That remains.
Yes, we have been first responders at the time of their climatic crises, cyclones, etc. And the visuals of the Indian diaspora lining up on the streets of St. Louis. I guess these are the visuals from outside the resort where Prime Minister is expected to arrive with those Indian tricolors there in their hands. The diaspora aspect, Samir Bhattacharya, your take. There's this robust Indian population that Mauritius, that we are looking at. There are reports suggesting that more than 22,000 Indian nationals and 13,000 plus OCI cardholders are currently in Mauritius. And notwithstanding the cultural linkages that we share, you have a kind of little India, that's what they call there in Mauritius.
Yeah, 70% of the Mauritius people, they trace their origin back to India. And Mauritius is the third largest, percentage-wise, the third largest Hindu majority country in the world, because 50% of their population, our goodwill agent, our goodwill ambassador, and the bridge between the two countries. So yeah, it's a very important factor that Prime Minister Modi is going to address these people.
Yes. Ambassador Gurjeet, would you like to add to that? And also, Mauritius being one of the largest beneficiaries of the ITEC program there, and which also, by the way, includes the kind of contribution that India has made there since last decade or so for the assets building, developmental projects, etc.
Diaspora is a big link between India and Mauritius. Sameer has explained the nature of the Mauritian population. So those are the people of Indian origin. But given the economic success of Mauritius, there is a large number of expatriates who work there, and those are the NRIs. So between them, there is a huge goodwill for India on socio-cultural aspect. The second part is that 400, I think, ITEC scholars come every year from Mauritius, and that is huge too. But the number of Mauritian students who are in Indian universities does not match other African countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan. This is because the economic well-being of Mauritians is good. So many of them choose to go to Western countries to study and not come to India. So that is one issue. You mentioned the asset building. In the last decade, India has contributed about $1.1 billion of developmental assistance to Mauritius, of which about 750 million is lines of credit, and the rest is grants.
Yeah.
And under this, if you look at the kind of activity taking place, whether there's a light rail metro or there is a civil service college, there is hospitals, there are clinics, there are schools, there's an immense amount of activity on the development side happening there. In almost all sectors of development, India is really the first responder. And
Yes.
this includes defense. Their Coast Guard is almost entirely Indian. And I think on the parade tomorrow, when the National Day,
Yes.
there will be a contingent of Indian Defense Forces, the Indian skydiving team,
Yes, yes,
an
yes.
Indian ship. So I think India has a very fulsome and rounded relationship with Mauritius. And it is for Mauritius to make sure that this relationship remains on even keel.
Yes, Indian Naval ship will be making a port call at Port Louis to celebrate their National Day. As you rightly pointed out, the contingent from the Indian Navy alongside the Indian Navy helicopters, Akash Ganga, and also the skydiving team from the Indian Air Force are going to participate in the event. So you talked about the engagements, and it's pertinent to tell our viewers, and you can also comment on it. In 2016 and 2017, India's the special economic packages were spread across 5 priority areas. You mentioned a metro project, Supreme Court building there, their ENT hospital, and then the social housing projects, digital tablets for school children. India has contributed immensely, and in the developmental projects, and also line of credit. So this continuity in this engagement for Mauritius now, we talk about 2024 and 2025, the Indian Ocean rubric and the way India is being looked up to as the leading voice in the global South region. From 2016 to 2025, the world has changed immensely.
And in that dynamic international order, Prime Minister's visit is an effort to keep the India-Mauritius relationship on even keel and not let it totter in choppy waters. I think that is really the purpose of this visit. And now, if you look at strategically, Prime Minister used the 2015 visit to Mauritius to announce Sagar. Now that is our policy for the Indian Ocean. And that Sagar has held us in good stead. So we have contributed much more to Mauritius and the other areas in the Indian Ocean through the Sagar Doctrine. You are aware that Mauritius also hosts the headquarters of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, where currently an Indian officer is the Secretary General.
Okay.
So we are working with them strategically to have, non-traditional threats in the region adequately catered to. What has been important in IORA is that in the last 2 years, they have also enunciated an Indo-Pacific arc, which integrates them into India's Indo-Pacific policy.
Okay.
Now, if you come to the bilateral part, and you mentioned it, when I was Joint Secretary Africa, Mauritius, despite its economic success, was very reluctant to borrow. They wanted everything as a grant.
Okay.
And we used to find that very difficult because Mauritius GDP compared to India was huge. And their rating was at a level that you could not compare them with the LDCs of Africa. So we had to tell them that, see, you have to borrow as per your rating, but they wanted everything as a grant.
But the country has come a long way. You know that aspect. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you here, Ambassador Gurjeet. Gateway to the African continent for India. If I can just quickly go across to Samir Bhattacharya and have a quick comment from him as well on this significance for India here, because we've spoken on the Indian Ocean region ecosystem, but the gateway to the African continent, sir, this is important for India.
Yes. So, see, first of all, the Indian Ocean region, the security of Indian Ocean region has been very important. Last year, India inaugurated, Prime Minister Modi virtually inaugurated airstrip and in the Agalega island of Mauritius. Then this visit, you also have to understand in the larger geopolitical context. The Chagos Island, the sovereignty of Chagos Island was awarded to Mauritius. It was just last year only, but then since the government in Mauritius changed, now the government in US has changed, so they might want to go back and look at the different provisions. So the presence of India as an objective, as a neutral partner, it is going to be very helpful in clinching, win-win deal. And also, I would join Ambassador Gurjeet Singh in, to tell that this capacity building, it has always been our main pillar. So this time around, also we are going to, Prime Minister Modi is going to inaugurate information center for weather forecasting. There will be a health center that is going to be inaugurated. India is also going to train 500 Mauritian civil servants over next 5 years. So this capacity building is another thing. So our partnership with Mauritius, it is an all-round partnership. And during this trip, and also one more thing about this defense partnership, India is this time again, India is going to, this apart from this contingent, India just donated 2 FICs to Mauritius Coast Guard. India earlier also donated FICs. So our the defense partnership is security partnership in that region is also growing strong. So overall, this trip, this visit is to establish India as our MEA, also like to call it as a net security provider. So it is kind of a message from India that we are here as a net security provider for the region. Not only our relationship with bilateral relationship with Mauritius is going to be, it's always there, it's always improving, but this trip also carries a message that we are here for the region.
Yeah, that point as India being seen, Ambassador Gurjeet, the net security provider at the current juncture, now geopolitically speaking, that's a very, very important point, sir. Your take, the point that has been raised by Samir Bhattacharya. The security aspect.
Indeed, India is a net security provider in real terms. The issue now is that we are taking that security provision beyond Mauritius into the Indian Ocean littoral of Africa. So that is why the importance of the Agalega facility, because that is a considerable distance from Mauritius, but it is very well placed, and that is from where we could support Mozambique, Kenya, Tanzania, Madagascar. So if you see, whenever there is a cyclone or a big strike, Indian naval ships are very quick to the rescue in all these regions. And that is because I think we are well supplied, we are there, and we are now ready to use the Agalega facilities to provide that net security which Samir talks about in that region. But I want to go back to what you asked about the Mauritius as a window to Africa.
African continents, yes.
Yes. Now, Mauritius has been talking about this a very long time, mainly to justify the old double taxation avoidance agreement, saying Indian companies come here and then they can invest in Africa. But that never really happened. Indian companies did not need Mauritius to invest in Africa. They have enough ways to go into Africa. When I did research for my book, The Harambe Factor, no Indian company said Mauritius was their primary aim. They all said whichever country in Africa was their primary aim. Secondly, when the DTA went out and now we have a CEPA, so those facilities are less, but yes, there are many diaspora companies out of Africa who have opened offices and funds in Mauritius. So the reverse is happening, that African companies are looking at Mauritius as a stable window. So there certainly Mauritius' high ranking and financial stability play a big role. But Mauritius struggles to have its African identity asserted.
Okay.
Recently there was an election to the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and Mauritius under the old government had actually put up the former foreign minister Anil Gayan. But when the government changed, they actually withdrew. But they wouldn't have won. It's because they are geographically in Africa, but their heart is with India. And that is why even in MEA today, Mauritius is not dealt anymore by the Africa division. It is dealt with by the Indian Ocean division.
All right. We take a short break here. Ambassador Gurjeet Singh and Samir Bhattacharya requesting you to stay with us. We slip into a short break. Our rolling coverage on India-Mauritius strengthening ties continues on DD India. Stay with us.
Welcome to Mahabalipuram, a coastal town full of delight, where history, art and natural beauty unite. Explore this sacred ground, where spirituality and divinity are closely bound. Stroll along the sandy shore, where sunsets leave you wanting for more. Wander through the Panchrathas, monuments of might, carved in stone, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Let the rock-cut caves transport you in time, where legends and myths intertwine. Immerse yourself in culture art, where music and dance captivate every heart. So visit Mahabalipuram. Let its magic unfold, where the ancient stories never grow old. Take in the richness of its hue. Let the spirit leave a lasting impression on you. Welcome to Mahabalipuram.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Embark on a timeless journey
unravel the mysteries of a grandiose era. A treasure trove of royal and sacred complexes, temples, shrines, pillared halls, mandapas, rock-cut memorials and more.
Thanks for staying with us on DD India. You're watching rolling coverage on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to Mauritius. Earlier today in the morning at around 6 a.m. Mauritius time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India arrived at the Sivo Sagar International Airport. Arrival visuals of Prime Minister Modi at Sir Sivo Sagar Ram Ghulam International Airport at St. Louis at around 6 a.m. their time. He was welcomed by the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Naveen Ramgoolam, and presented a garland. Prime Minister was the Prime Minister of Mauritius was joined by his deputy and Chief Justice of Mauritius, Speaker of the National Assembly, Leader of the Opposition, Foreign Minister of Mauritius, Cabinet Secretary, Chairperson of the Grand Port District Council and many others welcoming Prime Minister. Thereafter, even the National Anthem of India was played out, part of the ceremonial welcome or reception accorded to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. There were around 200 top dignitaries from the Mauritius government cutting across party lines and spectrum, welcoming Prime Minister Modi at St. Louis at the early hour there in Mauritius. This also included the MPs, the MLAs, the diplomatic corps and other top leadership of Prime Minister. Prime Minister of Mauritius, Ram Ghulam, Mr. Naveen Ramgoolam. In fact, India shares a deep-rooted connection with Mauritius through shared heritage, through history and culture. We now also take a look at the wide-ranging India-Mauritius bilateral relationship. that was a quick insight as far as the already existing robust alignment in various sectors between India and Mauritius are concerned. And to reflect more on that, Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, former senior diplomat, continues to be with us. So is also Samir Bhattacharya, Associate Fellow RF. Ambassador Gurjeet, for the viewers who have just tuned into DD India's special broadcast, let's do a quick review of the significance of this visit, and especially this for India as a very important outreach as far as the entire African subcontinent is concerned. Well, that aspect.
Mauritius is our lead partner in the Indian Ocean, and India is the net security provider and net development provider. So, with the change of government in Mauritius, I think it was an opportune time for India and Mauritius leadership to reacquaint themselves. It is not that they don't know each other. Ram Ghulam was the Prime Minister when PM Modi was elected the first time and had participated in PM Modi's inauguration in 2014. Subsequently, he had lost the elections, and Praveen Jagannath was the Prime Minister. But now that Praveen lost the election, Ram Ghulam is back. But with Ram Ghulam's coalition, his deputy is Paul Berenger, which comes from a party of largely French-owned people. So with them, the relationship is, let's say, one step less warm than that with the Jagannath party.
Okay.
So I think this effort is to go and show that the warmth from our side is consistent, and we will abide by our friendship for Mauritius. We want Mauritius to play straight with us and remain a committed partner, and we would certainly treat them as our brother.
Okay, and yeah, that's, you know, you've put it so beautifully, and we would treat them as our brother, and the special gesture has been acknowledged by Prime Minister Modi, that the entire, almost the entire government under the leadership of Prime Minister Ram Ghulam, they're coming to the St. Louis airport and receiving Prime Minister Modi, and Prime Minister Modi in a special gesture calling him a dear friend. I think that's a relationship where both sides have addressed, operates more on a reciprocity. Samir Bhattacharya?
Yeah, I think I would say that, whatever Ambassador Gurjeet Singh said, and also the reverse is also true, So just in November, this guy wins election, and what happened, I already told with Muitsu, India Out campaign, with Nepal's Prime Minister Oli, who broke the tradition and went to China instead of coming to India. So this guy, after winning the election, he had a strategic choice. Mauritius has a FTA with China since 2019. So Mauritius has a very good relationship with China also. So this guy had an opportunity to show who matters, and he showed that to the world. He gave a strong message to India that you matter. In the first National Day that he is celebrating in his current stint, he invited Indian PM as the chief guest. So that also shows that also give a strong message that India, you are our partner. So I think it is true from the both sides that we are the partners, and as Ambassador Gurjeet Singh said, that there was no break in this coalition. There are people from the previous party. So no matter which party wins, it is going to be a pro-India government. It is going to be a India-friendly government. That's the key message from this visit, I would say.
Of it and the deliverables that are on table, as per our reporter, there are around 8 MOUs that would be signed in crucial sectors. What do you think? Do we get to see some sort of shift in terms of elevating the already existing relationship to the next level? We do know that we have already in place some very robust convergences and cooperations, education, space, by the way, trade being a very, very important component, etc. Ambassador Gurjeet, and then Bhattacharya ji can also take that one. Yes.
So, certainly there is the intensity of the India-Mauritius relationship is growing. And Prime Minister's visit will add to that, and all these MOUs that you talk of and the projects that they will inaugurate will show that the diversity and intensity of Indo-Mauritius relations is far, far more than what was 10 years ago. The second aspect is that nowadays to maintain a developmental partnership with people, with other countries, the costs are going up because developmental demands don't cease. And there is a developmental competition with other partners. So in order to remain ahead in the game, India has to do more. You can see how we have done more in the case of Mauritius, or in Maldives, in Sri Lanka, in Bhutan, Nepal. So I think that aspect always tells that you have to do more. So I think that is where India will not be found lagging. India will do more. And except that, I'm happy to see that in the developmental package, the lines of credit are more and the grants are less. And that is the way it should be for a robust economy like Mauritius.
Especially in maritime security, this visit is very crucial, sir, considering Indian Ocean region has been a talking point of late. I mean, I'm not going to take names here of any specific region.
This is the fulcrum of the Indo-Indian Ocean for us for a long time. Mauritius has been the prime focus of India's Indian Ocean policy. And then there is Seychelles. Now we treat Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka and Maldives as one. And Sagar, as you are showing on your screen now, was actually announced by Prime Minister in Mauritius, emphasizing that how Mauritius-centric our Indian Ocean policy was. But as I said earlier, that we need to use Mauritius to expand our Indian Ocean footprint, whether bilaterally through them or through IORA, and use it in the Indian Ocean littoral states, both on the African mainland and in the Indian Ocean, like Comoros, Madagascar, Seychelles in their neighborhood, and then you go on to Mozambique, Tanzania, Kenya, further up to Djibouti and the Red Sea. So I think this is very important. You know that we have very large oil and gas coal investments in Mozambique, and Mauritius is one of the stable countries nearby from where we can service that investment and perhaps even protect it. So yes, Mauritius is extremely critical to India's Indian Ocean imprint.
In your words, using Mauritius to expand the Indian Ocean expanse, that's a very interesting point that you've pointed out, Gurjeet, Ambassador Gurjeet. Samir Bhattacharya, would you like to reflect on that? Because at the end of the day, the visits normally, you know, in a long run or a short term of it translate into more substantive portion as far as these MOUs and the benefits that both countries are looking at.
See, as Ambassador Gurjeet Singh said, that this region is the fulcrum of Indian Ocean region. So, and this is very apparent if you look at the presence of the foreign players over there. You have US, who has their base in Diego Garcia. Few months ago, UK has their base in Chagos Island. Then you have France, which has the entire island of Réunion. Réunion Island belongs to France. It is a French island. Then you have China, which has a naval base in Djibouti. India does not believe in this kind of naval base or anything. But India's presence, this kind of with this diaspora, with this friendly relation with Mauritius, it becomes very important for India as a fulcrum, as India's presence in that region. And also you spoke about trade. So, the trade is definitely increasing. And in 2021, India signed CESPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership, a trade agreement with Mauritius. Once it is fully implemented, it is going to improve our relation, our economic relation much further. So overall, I think this message, I have been telling it again and again, that this and Ambassador Gurjeet Singh also said that, you know, Mauritius is just not a country, it's a gateway to that region. So be it Mozambique, be it South Africa, be it, you know, that Mozambique channel, from that region we have a lot of trade which is going on, we have a lot of investment in that region. So this visit in Mauritius is a message to that region that India is an important player in that region. India is a net security provider, India is a net development provider, and India is a net friendly country in that region.
These are our interests that we are looking at, but what about the reciprocity here? Ambassador Gurjeet, for Mauritius, how important is India under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, strategically speaking?
So, for one thing, the entire petroleum requirements of Mauritius are met by India.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is the kind of support that we offer. And they have never suffered at any time due to shortages, because we have kept our commitments to them. So, like this, there are many things on which, so the spiritual aspect of most Mauritians is to engage with India. The economic aspects of infrastructure, of petroleum, energy is all linked to India. But it is in the open strategic space that sometimes Mauritius tries its luck and plays off India versus other competitors in the region. In the past, they used to do it with the United States, the UK and France. But today, those countries are all India's partners in the region. Samir mentioned reunion. So reunion is available to India for, you know, activities in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Navy can work in reunion due to our agreement with the French. So we are on a good wicket with the United States, with France and the UK in the region, and also Japan, which is more operating in the northern Indian Ocean. But it is China which is a greater threat to us, and we want to make sure that Mauritius and the other countries in the region don't try and do what Maldives and Sri Lanka tried to do, which is play off India against China. Now, what does this mean? If you want economic assistance, you want trade and investment from China, I don't think India has any problem. But make sure that Indian companies have a level playing field. And secondly, don't give China access to strategic assets and defense agencies so that they can in any way threaten India's interest or security. I think those two red lines is something that Mauritius needs to understand clearly.
Have we sent out the right signals, Ambassador Gurjeet, in that sense?
I believe we have, and I think the warmth with which Mr. Ram Ghulam is today receiving Prime Minister.
The whole of the government approach, as you put it.
Yes, whole of government approach. I think this is different from the earlier Ram Ghulam regime. So,
okay. All right. Well, interesting. Samir ji, your take. You agree this whole of the government approach by Ram Ghulam is an underlying signal in sharp contrast to, like Ambassador Gurjeet pointed out, the earlier Ram Ghulam approach?
No, definitely a lot of things have changed. He was not really anti-India per se, but yeah, the way he's, this kind of reception was really unprecedented. And I think to some extent, very few know that. Ambassador Gurjeet Singh told it already, you know, when the COVID happened, he was actually critically ill. He was flown to AIIMS Trauma Center. He was admitted in ICU. He got well, and he officially thanked India for, for saving his life. So I think that thing, that thing changed his attitude towards India, and also
like they say, change of heart.
Every country work for their national interests. So Mauritius is no different. I mean, the guy has owned a very strong mandate, and definitely China is a very important player for them, for development partner for Mauritius. So China has an FTA with Mauritius. China has Mauritius is third African country to, not third, probably the second African country to have a renminbi the clearance center in in Bangkok, Mauritius. So they have a very good relationship with China. That does not matter. They should have good relationship with all the other countries in the world. As long as our interest, as long as our bilateral relationship is not impacted due to the question or due to the external pressure, we are fine with that. And this is the message we have been giving, that we are your partner, we have been your partner, we will remain your partner. You keep your relationship, your national interest in mind, but don't undermine ours.
Yes. Don't undermine our national interests or compromise our national interests. Ambassador Gurjeet and Samir Bhattacharya, I'll request you to stay with us, because we have been talking so much also about the cultural aspect and the civilizational footprints and the cultural linkages. We want to show our viewers this report, and then we go back to our panelists. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi will also be visiting Ganga Talao, which is also known as Grand Basin. This is a place which is revered as Mauritius's most significant Hindu pilgrimage site, symbolizing the Ganges River of India, or the Ganga River of India. The holy waters of Ganga Talao were infused with water from the Ganges River way back in 1972 on your screens. This is a lake which is surrounded by temples dedicated to Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha and Lord Hanuman. The Shiva temple at Ganga Talao is believed to be the 13th Jyotirling, also known as Mauritius Ishwarnath Jyotirling, according to local legend. And this was established way back in 1897 by Pandit Jumman Giri. During the visit of India's President Draupadi Murmu to Mauritius in 2024, it was announced that the government of India will support the redevelopment of the Ganga Talao complex into a religious, cultural and tourist hub. DD India's Akshay Dongre spoke with the trustee and the caretaker of the sacred lake in Mauritius on the significance of Ganga Talao.
We are currently at Ganga Talao in Mauritius, one of the most revered spiritual and religious sites. And to talk about how this place is significant, we also have Mr. Satish Dayal with us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. There is a lot of interest as far as the Ganga Talao is concerned. Many people also consider the temple here as the 13th Jyotirlinga as well in India too. As the Prime Minister is arriving here in Mauritius, there is a lot of interest as far as India is concerned, and in the world as well, that these kind of places exist in Mauritius. So can you tell us about the significance of this Ganga Talao?
The Ganga Talao is a very important place, is spiritually revered place, as you mentioned it. It is a Tirthistan, a place of pilgrimage too. And recently it has been declared as a heritage, spiritual heritage too. For the Hindu, it is a great symbol.
Right.
It is a great symbol because Ganga Talao is a sacred lake. In spite of being a sacred lake, it's a volcanic lake too. And it is a natural lake.
Right.
For Hindu, it is a great symbolism, this lake itself. The two things at Ganga Talao is very important. One is the lake itself. Secondly, the world 13th Jyotirlinga is here. The 12 Jyotirlinga in India, it is the only one which is outside India. And it is considered as the main temple of the country. And very often we used to experience miraculous happenings. And the temple is very, very famous all throughout the world.
You heard all the significance of this Ganga Talao, and like Mr. Dayal has explained to us in so many words, that how special and pious this lake is, and how Mauritius is perhaps the only country outside India that has a Jyotirlinga as well. With camera person Ajit Kumar, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
So the other aspect that makes this relationship all right, arrival shots of Prime Minister Modi first on your screens, DD India at his resort. Let's hear the audio. All right. Resounding welcome by the members of the Indian diaspora at St. Louis in Mauritius. Prime Minister Modi, there always that personal touch when it comes to the diaspora, cutting across all age groups. There you have Indian diaspora members coming to the resort at the early hours there in Mauritius to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And also, as we stay with these visuals, let's also have guests talking about the little India. And yes, that is beautiful. Swagat hai Modi ji, aapka swagat karte hai. We were earlier, Ambassador Gurjeet, talking about very strong civilizational footprints, and India-Mauritius, sharing that strong cultural connect, especially the people from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, since generations who have settled there. Actually, if you look at these visuals, it looks like it's a mini India itself. Ambassador Gurjeet?
It is indeed a mini India, as you said.
Yes.
And, though the original people came from Puducherry, many more from Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Eastern UP, with whom they maintained strong links.
Yes. Right.
And now, the new generation is a little more Western oriented, mainly due to their economic well-being.
Right.
But India, through its scholarship program and what is called the No India program, which are short-term visits to India, has actually reconnected with Mauritian youth, I think, quite admirably.
Okay.
And I think I saw your statistic, 385 people have been to India under the No India program.
Because, and nearly 70% of the island's population of 1.3 million constitute Indian diaspora. I think that's a huge chunk. We need to wrap up this cycle of special broadcast here. I would like to thank Ambassador Gurjeet and also Sameer Bhattacharya for joining us and examining the significance of this relationship. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, both of you. We take a short break here. Yes, we take a short break here. News and updates continue on your channel, DT India. Please stay with us. And of course, we'll continue to track Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to Mauritius. Stay with us.